Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Sandala. I'm Programming and Outreach Specialist here at Library Link NJ. I'm so thrilled for this book buzz with Lee and Low, HarperCollins, and Harlequin. And here to get us started are Shaughnessy Miller and Jennifer Kawam from Lee and Low, who will share their upcoming books with you. And we have prizes from them and from each of our publishers at the end of the event. So Shaughnessy and Jen, do you want to go ahead and get started?
Oh, hello, thank you for joining us. We're so excited to share what's forthcoming from Lee and Low for the spring 2025. We are the largest independent multicultural children's book publisher in the US. And my name is Shaughnessy Miller. I'm the assistant marketing manager at Lee and Low, and my pronouns are she, her. And speaking alongside me is my colleague Jennifer Kawam. She is marketing coordinator and also uses she, her pronouns. So head over to Edelweiss to browse our latest catalogs and digital review copies. Note you can order Lee and Low titles through your wholesaler distributor or directly through us. And make sure to follow Lee and Low on your favorite social media platforms, as well as some newer platforms like TikTok, Threads, and we are also on Blue Sky. Bookmark leeandlow.com, where you can find free resources to use with books in classrooms and libraries. Make sure to check out the results from our third iteration of the Diversity Baseline Survey. This dataset measures the demographics of the publishing workforce, and it's key to understanding the issues of representation in books. Before we dive into our title presentation, I want to give a shout out to our Bebop Books imprint. This is an exclusive sole source line that supports literacy instruction for emergent readers, and there's a rich selection of fiction and nonfiction offerings available in English and Spanish. The books feature simple sentence patterns, familiar words and concepts, and captivating illustrations or photographs. So contact quotes@leeandlow.com to learn more details. And with that, I will pass it over to Jen to start our presentation.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here, especially as a New Jersey resident myself. If anyone is from Warren County, feel free to shout it out. But let's go ahead and dive into our fall 2024 titles first. So we're going to start with Mercedes Sosa, Voice of the People, and its simultaneous Spanish hardcover edition, Mercedes Sosa, La Voz del Pueblo, written and illustrated by Aisha Perez Prado. This powerful biography of Argentinian folk singer and activist Mercedes Sosa will make your corazón soar like the songs she performed. Affectionately known as both the voice of the voiceless and La Negra, Mercedes used her musical talents and powerful voice to speak out against poverty and inequality in her home country. Readers will learn of Mercedes' personal journey from humble beginnings to a global singing sensation, as well as Argentine history, exploring how economic and political instability led to the rise of a dictatorship and state-sponsored terrorism. Mercedes stood up to injustice through her songs about inequality, and her story emphasizes the importance of allowing music and art to criticize a government freely and to inspire social change. And Afterward with Photos dives deeper into Mercedes' life and career. Author-illustrator Aisha Perez Prado did extensive research about Mercedes and even had the opportunity to interview her brother and nephew about many of the different parts of her story. Aisha grew up in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She is an educator of linguistic and cultural studies whose academic work and children's books promote diversity, peace, and social activism. Aisha said the book shows how all people, regardless of wealth, gender, ethnicity, or other circumstances, have the right to live in freedom and peace with hope for a better future. All voices are equally valuable and should be heard. Mercedes will sing her way into your hearts on September 17th, just in time for Latina and Hispanic Heritage Month. Next up, we have from New Voices award winner and debut picture book author Maham Khwaja is The Home We Make, illustrated by the acclaimed Dabi Zainab Faifi. The Home We Make is a moving story told from the perspective of a young refugee girl as she and her family are forced to flee their beloved home after violence erupts all around them. Emotive illustrations by Feide balance the family's love for one another and hope for the future with the harrowing journey to escape on foot, travel by boat, and then finally resettle in a safe place. Through it all, the young girl tries to hold on to all the pieces of her life before and find a way to rebuild a sense of home. The Home We Make is a timely and tender look at the ongoing refugee crisis and how it affects the children forced to endure these tragic circumstances. It serves as a valuable resource for parents, educators, and librarians looking to educate children about the plight of asylum seekers and foster empathy and understanding, positioning home as not a physical space, but something that is tied to memories, traditions, and the people we love. When asked about her authorial debut, Maham said, "I knew I wanted to tell a hopeful story. In the refugee crisis the world is currently facing and has been facing, there have been many helpers, countless kind-hearted souls who brought a bit of respite to the difficult journeys refugees have been forced to take. I wanted to show a realistic best-case scenario, a scenario in which, yes, a family has to uproot and leave their homeland, but also a scenario in which they are treated with kindness and welcomed by others, and a scenario in which they are able to rebuild and begin to heal." For those of you in the tri-state area who are interested, the Brooklyn Book Festival will be launching its first annual Asian American Book Con on September 27th, and author Maham Khwaja will be in attendance. So be sure to check out the Brooklyn Book Festival website for more information. And The Home We Make will release on October 8th.
Okay, Shaughnessy again, here to talk about some novels. A Two-Placed Heart is a heartfelt middle grade memoir in verse by Don Hoong Nguyen, the author of Meon Bea. It's the summer of 1996. 12-year-old Bum can't believe her younger sister doesn't see herself as Vietnamese, only American. She says she doesn't remember Vietnam or their lives there, their family there, their house and friends, but how could her sister forget the terrible journey through Saigon and the airplanes and everything? And what about Bum? She remembers now, but how long will she keep her memories? She's always found comfort in the sound of her father's typewriter, so she has an idea. She'll write down all that she can remember, the time when her father was a spy, when her mother was nicknamed a radio, when they were so hungry Bum couldn't walk well, and when the family said goodbye. Bum will even tell her sister and herself about what it was like moving to Tennessee. The ESL classes, bullies, strange new foods, icy weather, friendships and crushes, and how their family worked to keep their heritage alive. She'll type one poem at a time until they never forget again. Don Phung's love for Vietnam and her culture shines through the pages and centers the narrative of the aftermath of the Vietnam War and on Vietnamese immigrants. A Two-Placed Heart is an intimate story about the beauty of family and being torn between two worlds, something many BIPOC readers can relate to, and it's especially true for immigrant kids starting at a new school in a new place and not speaking the same language as everyone else, as well as the internal struggle when someone begins to lose their native language. The literary beauty of the story is rooted in Don Phung's love for her family, especially growing up with her younger sister. Playful and sometimes a bit annoying, sisterhood isn't always easy, but A Two-Placed Heart shows its readers that the love for one's sisters and the culture that connects them can be both complex and beautiful. Also for middle grade readers is the latest installment to our graphic novel series, Tales of the Feathered Serpent, which is written by David Bowles and illustrated by his daughter, Charlene Bowles. In The Hero Twins and the Magic of Song, two demigod twins are destined to rescue their father and uncle from the land of the dead, but it won't be easy. They'll have to use some trickster magic to survive their cruel half-brothers. Each book in the Tales of the Feathered Serpent series features a standalone adaptation to one of several pre-Columbian Mesoamerican tales that were first combined into David Bowles' YA story collection, Feathered Serpent, Dark Heart of Sky. The first book in the series, Rise of the Halfling King, received a starred review from Kirkus and was included in their best middle grade graphic novels of 2020 list. Sharing these sacred Mayan and Aztec tales to new readers is important, and doing them with graphic novels is not only fun for readers, but it has a deeper history. David Bowles says, "When I consider the highly visual way Mesoamericans recorded their stories, the closest modern equivalent that comes to mind is the graphic novel. Blending written words and images, comics, and other sorts of graphics allows our brains to process stories more like our ancestors did, using multiple parts of our brain to understand more fully.
All right, so let's move on to the action-packed YA fantasy Twin Flames, written by Olivia Abtahi. Twins Bianca and Layla could not be more different from each other. Being biracial, Argentinian and Iranian in their small, majority white town has always been hard. But with Layla shunning her heritage and Bianca embracing it, the two walk disparate paths and barely talk anymore. But on their 18th birthday, their neighbor's barn mysteriously burns down. When Layla encounters a djinn rising from the fire, she suddenly gains strange powers. What do these djinn want with Layla, or other people in town for that matter? The siblings will have to reconcile to find out and to save the day. Twin Flames is the book author Olivia Abtahi wished she had when she was growing up, one that features kick-ass female leads with secret powers that are still rooted in daily struggles of identity and ability. And Twin Flames also upends some typical tropes. It's refreshing to see twins that don't have stereotypical joined at the mind connection. Bianca and Layla have to learn to like each other again after a long estrangement. Also, in many stories, jinn exist to fulfill 3 wishes for mortals, or at least to perform some sort of benefit for them. But this story explores a more sinister side of the jinn tales from folklore. Fans of The Cruel Prince or This Poison Heart will readily devour this one. Now, it's been 10 years since the William C. Morris YA debut award-winning author Isabel Quintero introduced us to Gabby Hernandez. Gabby, A Girl in Pieces garnered 3-star reviews and a multitude of awards, including 16 state reading lists. Readers are hooked from page 1 by Gabby's witty voice as she chronicles her senior year of high school. Her mom is stricter than ever, her dad is still hooked on drugs, and her best friends are going through it. Thankfully, she has poetry, hot Cheetos, and her diary to help her navigate through everything. Gabby, A Girl in Pieces continues to resonate with young people today because it realistically depicts the myriad of struggles teenagers face: body image issues, drug addiction, sexual assault, homophobia, and the overall condemnation of any expression of sexuality. The ways we are told we belong or not as part of American society, especially as people of color, and specifically in Gabby's case as a Mexican American. It's for these reasons and so many more that Gabby and Girl in Pieces needs to be readily accessible across all communities. It is among the top banned or challenged titles on the Lee and Low list. And we, alongside many other publishers, are working with the folks at ALA's Unite Against Book Bans to generate book resumes for books like Gabby. The documents detail the book's significance and educational value and are easy to share with administrators, elected officials, or board members. So we encourage you to check them out if you are carrying these books in your library.
Okay, me again. I'm thrilled to share our new in Spanish titles for this fall. Lee and Low takes special care in its translation so that we continue fulfilling our mission to create books about everyone for everyone. First up, we have Semillas de Cambio, written by Jen Cullerton Johnson and illustrated by Sonia Lynn Sadler. Seeds of Change, the English edition, received a CSK John Steptoe Award for New Talent in Illustration, as well as a starred review from Kirkus. And this picture book biography tells the true story of Wangari Maathai, the first Kenyan woman and the first environmentalist to win a Nobel Peace Prize. And then for middle grade and YA readers, we're going to talk about the first books in our empowering nonfiction, the Story of Chapter Book series. La Historia de la Estrella de Cine, Anna May Wong, spotlights the actor and her trailblazing Hollywood career. You may recognize Anna May's name and face because she somewhat recently became the first Asian American to be featured on the U.S. Quarter. And then La Historia del Héroe de los Derechos, John Lewis honors the life and legacy of one of the big 6 civil rights leaders. It's a great introduction to Lewis's life for readers who are a little too young for the March graphic novel trilogy. Each book in this collection of chapter book biographies focused on noteworthy figures of color includes black and white illustrations, informative sidebars, highlighted vocabulary words, timeline glossary, and recommended reading. Next, we have Julieta y el Enigma del Diamante by Luisana Duarte Armendariz. And this was a new Visions Award winner about a smart young middle grade mystery that is about a diamond gone missing from the Louvre and the sweet and spunky Mexican-American 9-year-old who cracks the case. The dialect of Spanish used in this translation honors the book's Mexican-American roots. In fact, author Luisana did the translation herself, the perfect person to bring Julieta's spunky voice to Spanish readers. Lastly, we have Treinta Me Habla de Amor, or 30 Talks Weird Love by Alessandra Narvaez Varela. This is a powerful YA novel in verse that features a smart 13-year-old Mexican girl, Ana Maria, who is visited by her 30-year-old future self, a future self that's trying to convince her she needs to be kinder to herself, no matter what's happening with her grades, the distress in her hometown, or the expectation from her parents. And we wanted to give y'all a quick sneak peek at our spring 2025 list. First, for picture book, we have A Sky That Sings by Anita Sanchez and George Steele, illustrated by Emily Mendoza. And this shares a blind girl's love for identifying birds by their distinct calls and songs as she leads her tia through the park. For middle grade, we'll have The Real Wish by Shamile Said Mendez. After a panic attack prevents Florencia from performing as Clara in the Nutcracker, and her best friend takes the lead, a new dance style helps her face her anxiety as well as her troubled friendship. The story prioritizes mental health and well-being and highlights Latina participation in ballet and Irish dance communities, where Latina kids can express themselves outside of any box or restrictions placed on them. And this book is also simultaneously publishing in Spanish. And then we have for YA, Generation Queer by Kim Topping. This graphic novel collection features LGBTQ plus leaders working to make their world more inclusive. This nonfiction collection gives educators an additional LGBTQ plus resource, placing youth-led activism at the forefront of civil rights discussions. But these are just a few of our upcoming spring titles. Be sure to register for our spring 2025 showcase to hear more about these titles and all of our upcoming spring books. And folks who attend live will automatically be entered to win a set of our advanced reader copies. So thank you again for joining us. As a reminder, you can visit our website, leeandlow.com, for resources for all of our books, and visit our open book blog. And please do follow us at Lee and Low at wherever you are on social media. Thank you.
So hi, everyone. Thanks again. Thank you, Lena, for presenting. And now we have Virginia Stanley and Grace Caternolo with HarperCollins, who always have great book recommendations. I'm so thrilled to have both of you here to talk about your upcoming books to be on librarians' radar and anything that we should know about. So go ahead and get us started.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to us talk about books. We'll go to the first slide. And Grace, do you want to just run people through it real quick? Because we don't have tons of time and we have a lot of books to get to, but a little bit of housekeeping.
Absolutely. So if you want to scan that QR code on your phone, it'll bring you to the Edelweiss catalog of all the titles we're going to discuss today. And this is to the left, a really quick rundown of all of our programs that we offer online. Writers to Watch is a monthly author event where we host 4 authors, and we have 4 very exciting authors this month, or in September on the 10th. Head to our Facebook page later today, and those will be announced. And then we have Galley Gab Fest, which is basically when we do this. We just talk about books, and it's a great time. We get to chat with all of you. 5 Minutes With is a very short video, 5 minutes, with an author talking to you directly about their books. And then Bookmarked by Lainey is our third team member's website, where she tells you all the things that have been resonating with her lately. So that's our programs in a nutshell, and we'll get right onto the books.
Okay, gonna time myself. Let's see how that goes. So The Coast Road. So we were told to, let you know about books that it may have, just published or about to pub that we're kind of crazy about. And I'm crazy about this book, The Coast Road by Ellen Morin. It went on sale June 4th, not that long ago. And it's about a moment in history just before divorce was legalized in Ireland in 1996. Couldn't get divorced before then, which is bananas, but you couldn't. And it's about these women. It's a novel, and it's about these women, these characters who have to grapple with their lives and the situation of the law. When I first read this book, the first couple of pages, it was all over for me. I was all in. It's a debut set in County Donegal in 1994. And the main characters are these two women who find themselves in very unhappy marriages and they're so real and accessible in their stories. Their situations are unique and different from each other, but in a larger sense, they are the same. Their voices, their conversations, their friends, their enemies, their families, all of it is so real. I was reminded of Wally Lamb's writing, in that Alan Morin has that same sensibility to like really fully and respectfully capture the essence and emotions of women. I just love this book so much. It's think Claire Keegan, Elizabeth Strout, just wonderful. It's a gift to anyone who loves a good story with great characters. PW loved it, called it a smashing debut. I did an interview with him. I think Grace just put it into the chat. I love this writing. I love his voice. I love his written voice, his spoken voice. If you have a hot second, Grace, is the link in there for the
Yep.
interview?
I put it in there.
Thanks. So go check it out. I can't say more about it. The jacket is glorious, and so is the read.
Next, we
Next.
have I Don't Want to Go Home. So this book is very New Jersey. We, of course, had to include it. The author is a New York Times correspondent, and in this book, he's captured the oral history of the music venue, the Stone Pony. And they've hosted Bruce Springsteen, Southside Johnny, and I could be here all day naming artists, but this discusses Stone Pony's overall effect on Asbury Park in New Jersey. So in the 70s, Asbury Park was in shambles following the race riots, and a few years later, two bouncers, Jack and Butch, opened their own bar. They didn't have like any money. They were honestly very underprepared. And it was the first bar they even considered. And they hadn't even visited the bar before purchasing it, which is exactly what I did when I rented my current apartment in New York City. It's doable. I don't recommend it, but they did it and it worked out well. So little did they know the Stone Pony would help save a city that nobody wanted to be in. So this is a really comprehensive history of how it survived and revived Asbury Park, and it includes like exclusive, never before seen photos, interviews with Bruce Springsteen, Steve Van Zandt, Southside Johnny, the Ramones, the Jonas Brothers, Jack Antonoff, and more. So if you're a music fan, if you're a New Jersey fan, you should consider this one for your library. It's gotten fantastic reviews, and we were just really excited to have this one on our list. And it's on sale now, so you can find it anywhere you can find a book. Next.
How the Light Gets In by Joyce Maynard came out on June 25th. Joyce Maynard she's a New York Times bestselling author, and this is an anticipated follow-up to her previous novel, Count the Ways. Just letting you know, you don't need to have read Count the Ways in order to dive right into this book. You won't feel lost. But if you want to read Count the Ways, then you get the sense of this family from the very beginning when these two people meet, fall in love. It's in the 70s. They have their children. Life goes on. This picks up. The Count the Ways got 3-star reviews. Joyce Carol Oates called it fearlessly candid. Jenna Blum said Joyce Maynard is the queen of the family saga and Count the Ways is the best. And Carolyn Levitt, who's wonderful, well, they're all wonderful, but she said it's exactly the novel we all need now. So this is the story of 3 generations of a family and its matriarch, Eleanor. And this finds us, it's following the death of her former husband, Cam. So in the first book, Eleanor and Cam meet, fall in love, stuff happens. Now he's her former husband and he has died. She is 54 and she's moved back to New Hampshire to the farm where they raised their 3 kids. And they have to care for their brain injured son, Toby, who is now an adult. So this is like, this is putting the pieces back together. It sees her through her family over 15 years, from 2010 to 2024, as their story plays out against this backdrop and events that transform their lives, including climate change, the January 6th insurrection, school violence. So You see their lives, you see their relationships, but you also see the current temperature of the world, what's going on legally. I mean, literally. There's a great piece of Yoda. Grace, did you put that in there, or could you?
Just did it.
Thank you. It's on Joyce Maynard's website, joycemaynard.com. The link is there. There's a terrific piece that she wrote on parental estrangement, and it is beautiful and powerful, and you should read it. But this is a great portrait of characters, both familiar and new people that are just making their way through rough and messy and treacherous terrain to find their way in the world. Alice McDermott, National Book Award winner, says it's a novel that understands how grace accrues over time in families, making the past bearable and the future possible. A wise and lovely book. Next slide is Me in a League of Her Own by Kia Alderson, August 6th. So just went on sale. And this follows the acquisition of a Negro Leagues baseball team and features the great American baseball player Satchel Paige, among many others. And it's a side of Black history that hasn't been seen much in fiction. It's set in the 1930s in New York City. And an ambitious Harlem woman's husband upends her social climbing when he buys a Negro Leagues baseball team and appoints her as the team's business manager. And overnight, she goes from being a 125th Street civil rights champion to an interloper in the boys' club that is professional baseball. She navigates her way through gentlemen's agreement contracts, the very public flirtatious antics of Satchel Paige, and a sports world that would much rather see this woman back in her quote-unquote place at home. But she whips this team together. They're the Newark Eagles and into the Negro Leagues champions of 1946. And is based on the life of Effa Manley, who was an unforgettable and inspiring woman with a dream who wound up with a baseball team. So that's In a League of Her Own.
All right, we came to welcome you. So this is an adult debut from an amazing award-winning YA author, and we're really excited to have them on our list. And this comes out just next week. We've been thinking of this as The Other Black Girl Meets Midsummer. And I think it's also very much in the vein of Jordan Peele. So if you're a huge fan of him like I am, if you're into Get Out, you're going to want to pick this one up. So the story follows Sol Reyes and her wife Alice Song as they move into this gorgeous gated community. Life isn't perfect. Sol is on probation from her job at a university lab. She's been visiting her very homophobic father a lot, and she is definitely drinking too much. And Alice is kind of remaining hopeful that things are going to be okay in this new neighborhood. This neighborhood has a motto of invest in a neighborly spirit. And I did say this was in the vein of Get Out, so that's hopefully unsettling to you. But the new neighborhood has some very interesting neighbors. Sol thinks they're being too friendly. They keep inviting her to the homeowners association, pushing her to sign an odd contract, while at the same time throwing microaggressions at her. And then the cherry on top, things start to get weird in her home as well. The doors start disappearing. There are vanishing stairwells, roots suddenly sprouting out of the house. And her wife is not fazed by this. Alice is really just focusing on Sol, who's now becoming very paranoid and manic. And when Sol discovers from a journal that the past resident went missing a few years ago, things get turned on their head. So this book has a very dark sense of humor coupled with this like biting social commentary about being a minority in your own neighborhood and the pressure to assimilate. And it's all wrapped up into this creepy horror novel. I love this cover. If you look very closely at the pie, you'll see like things coming out of it. It's a very cool book, a novel of suburban horror, and you can get your hands on that one next week when it goes on sale. What's next?
Hey, By the Fire We Carry by Rebecca Nagel, on sale September 10th. It's already received starred reviews from Booklist, PW, and Kirkus. It unwinds the story of how a small town murder in the 90s became a Supreme Court case that decided the status of American Indian reservations today. This take me a hot second to do this one because I want to do it justice. In the 1830s, Muskogee people were rounded up by the U.S. military at gunpoint and forced into exile halfway across the continent. At the time, they were promised that this new land would be theirs for as long as the grass grew and waters ran, and that promise was not kept. When Oklahoma was created on top of their land, the new state claimed their reservation no longer existed. Over a century later, when a Muskogee citizen was sentenced to death for murdering another Muskogee citizen, his defense attorneys argued the murder occurred on the reservation of his tribe, and therefore Oklahoma didn't have the jurisdiction to execute him. Oklahoma argued that reservation no longer existed, and in 2020, the Supreme Court said no more. The ruling would ultimately underpin multiple reservations covering the land in Oklahoma, including Nagel's own Cherokee Nation. So much more goes into this book. It is deeply researched. This is for readers of journalistic narrative, nonfiction, fans of true crime, readers of Indigenous history, fans of books like, Killers of the Flower Moon, Jackson Land. It's a really heavily researched piece. The author is brilliant. She's an award-winning journalist, and as I said, a citizen of the Cherokee Nation. Anyway, much to say about this book, but please pick it up. It's so important. Next. Oh, switching gears big time. This is The Borrowed Life of Frederick Fife by Anna Johnson. It goes on sale September 10th. It was a library reads pick. It is a library reads pick for September, the only one from our list that made the September list, and I love this book. So Frederick Fife, this is a real feel-good story. It's tenderhearted. There's some moments of sadness in here, and it's an exploration of just growing older and what people do with their lives. It's a novel, but it's beautiful. Frederick was born with he's just got a kind heart, but he's 82. There's nobody left in his life. He's desperately lonely. He's broke. He's paid for his wife's care, and he's on the brink of homelessness. His luck changes in a bizarre case of mistaken identity. I talked about this, I think, at PLA, and I just love this book. And people really wanted to get copies of The Galley because it's just so sweet. He takes the place of a gentleman who was living at this nursing home. The man, Bernard Greer, passes away, and Frederick takes his place. Now he's got a roof over his head, 3 meals a day, and most importantly, the chance to be part of a family again. All he has to do is hope that his poker face is in better shape than his prostate. And nobody ever looks twice at him and says, "You're not Bernard." So he navigates life in Bernard's shoes, and he learns about Bernard's past and what it might take to return a life in better condition than he found it. It is feel good and clever. It's about grief and forgiveness. The author knows of what she writes. She based a lot of this, I guess like the core of the heart of Frederick Fife on her grandfather. And it does explore themes of, reading, friendship and finding family and aging and generational crossover. It's an important book. I'm telling you, you got to read it. I'm not surprised, but I was thrilled to learn that it made the library reads list. If you like Remarkably Bright Creatures or The Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, you're going to love this book.
All right. We have many more books and not that much time, so I'm gonna speed it up a little bit with Into Unknown Skies. This is The Right Stuff Meets The Boys in the Boat, and it's this incredible history of the 1924 race to circumnavigate the world by air. It feels silly to say this, but obviously aviation was not the same in the 1920s as it is now. After the Wright brothers' first flight, airplanes were mainly for delivering mail or stunts, and people were not genuinely considering commercial air travel as we know it now. Even the military was really unsure of it, but this all shifted entirely when this race was conceptualized. So the US was, they're the underdogs in the situation. The aviators from England, Italy, Portugal, France, Argentina were much more skilled and had a lot more money than the US, and just really not really looking good. These planes were experimental, dangerous landings were common, and there was really simple ways that a pilot could mess up to end off miles off course. So it was expected that people would die during this race. And David Randall has really written this thrilling narrative nonfiction about this. And it's been getting so much praise. That's just one quote on the screen from Booklist, but it reads very easily and very thrilling. It's a fun history. So next. Okay, it is August, but it kind of feels like Christmas is next week. So this is another book from Allie Carter. You know her, you love her. It's another adult novel from her, and it's set at Christmas time. So it's a holiday rom-com with with rivals to lovers and of course mystery. So we meet Maggie and Ethan. She is the queen of cozy mysteries, and he is a big thriller guy, and they hate each other. But they're both invited to attend a Christmas party at this estate by a reclusive fan, and they're shocked when their host is a major author named Eleanor. So they arrive, the weather gets bad, everyone goes to bed, and the next morning Eleanor is gone and she vanished from a locked room. So the two of them have to kind of team up. They're both these writers that write mysteries and slash thrillers, and they have to figure out what happened. And with every step that they get closer to the truth, they get closer with each other. So this is, again, just a really fun read. We have this beautiful start review from Library Journal, and that one is on sale at the end of September. So you can read it early for Christmas. You can hang on to it until you have that atmospheric read. But that is The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. So next.
Okay, Grace is right. We'll hurry. Sorry, I just love them. Okay, our Narrow Hiding Places by Christopher Jansma goes on sale, or went on sale August 13th. And this is historical fiction. There are countless novels about World War II. There are none in English that chronicle the hunger winter in the Netherlands. And that's what this is. This is loosely based on the author's grandmother who survived the hunger winter and emigrated to the United States from the Netherlands. So this is deeply researched, and this novel is about Mika Gebhorn, who lives in New Jersey. She's widowed. She's 80 years old. And her 30-something grandson is the apple of her eye, but his life is troubled. His marriage is on the rocks. He comes to live with her, and she tells him the story of how she and her family survived the hunger winter in the Netherlands. And it's a sweeping story of survival and the terrible cost of war. If you loved All the Light We Cannot See in The Nightingale, this book is for you. Next.
Okay, Book and Dagger. We love this one. On sale next month. It's a refreshing angle on World War II, which we all know is a very covered topic, but Elise Graham is a historian professor at Stony Brook, and she's written this very fun book about librarians and academics who worked as spies for the Office of Strategic Services during World War II, when the US's need for intelligence grew. So she used personal essays, declassified OSS files, and archival materials and diaries to research the importance of these spies. And there were so many fun things about this book. Even just the chapter titles alone were very fun, but I think it makes a great case for the importance of libraries and the value of maintaining records and providing access to a broad collection of books and texts. I think when we think intelligence units, I think of like people at computers with, tech and STEM, and this book kind of pushes the importance of humanities in this type of work. And gorgeous book list start review. This book reads like a spy thriller, so it's a great recommendation for people who may not normally pick up nonfiction but might have interest in the topic. And next, Before 13th. Oh, I love this book. So it's always exciting to have a graphic novel on our list, but especially when it's so beautifully illustrated. And I was just really blown away by the images in this one. So this is a historical graphic novel told from the perspectives of Frederick Douglass, who lived in Rochester, where I am from. So shout out to Frederick Douglass and Rochester. And as well as Ida B. Wells, an activist and journalist. So the two had this very complex relationship as friends, and they often disagreed with each other. And this focuses on the 1896 Chicago World's Fair. So the two had originally planned to boycott the event due to its racism, but then Douglas is invited to be a featured speaker at the event, and the two clash on what they're supposed to do next. And I think through this like very specific moment in history, the book tackles slavery, incarceration, and the issue of convict leasing and the controversies regarding the 13th Amendment. And I'm just really excited for people to be able to read this on sale next month. So next.
This book has gotten so many reviews. A Reason to See You Again by Jamie Attenberg goes on sale September 24th. She's the New York Times bestselling author of multiple books, including The Middlesteins and All Grown Up. And this spans the course of a family over 40 years. And it follows the Cohen family, a mother and her two daughters, and they're reeling after the death of the patriarch in their family, who dies in the 70s. And tensions have been long kept under the surface and they bubble over, and these three women break, each go in different directions in every way, lifestyle and geographical. So the mother tries to reinvent herself from being a housewife, to struggling to addiction. The daughter marries young and seeks happiness as a homemaker, and the other daughter goes to the other direction and goes out west and enters the tech world. A woman among men trying to build a company. And at some point, all these women need to decide what is it that they really want, and can their lives come together again. It's dysfunctional, it's fresh, takes a look at the workforce, tech industry, also inherited trauma and Jewish identity and the Me Too movement. It's just ever-evolving ways that we communicate with each other. And Jamie Attenberg is just a wonderful writer, and too many reviews to share, but you can see right there, it's got a book list review. So excited about that one. Next.
Okay, The Colony Club by Shelley Noble. She's the author of The Tiffany Girls, and we're just really pumped about this one. It's about a one-of-a-kind, a colony club, so the one-of-a-kind place in New York that women would gather and advocate for social issues. So in this novel, Daisy is refused a room at the Waldorf because she's an unaccompanied female. So she establishes the Colony Club, which is the first women's club in Manhattan in the Gilded Age. So she hires a man named Stanford White to design her clubhouse, and when he is murdered and a bunch of secrets come to light, three women, Daisy, Nora, and Elsie, team up to make this club a reality. And it's this tribute to women making their own space and breaking down barriers. And it's a very lovely book. And if you download an eGalley on NetGalley or Edelweiss, library reads votes are due September 1st. So next. Okay, Morningside. Oh, this book. So Erin Shutterly has written a comprehensive and deeply researched history about the 1979 racial tragedy in Greensboro, North Carolina. And he did a fantastic interview with Margot Lee Shutterly, the author of Hidden Figures, who is his wife. And I will put the link to watch that in the chat. I could listen to those two talk all day, but he uses survivor interviews, court documents, and files from the FBI investigation to craft this really well-researched narrative nonfiction. And if you aren't aware, in November of 1979, activist Nelson Johnson assembled a group to march in protest against the Ku Klux Klan. And they were met with violence as the KKK and the American Nazi Party shot and killed 5 activists. And they were acquitted in court and nobody was ever charged. And unfortunately, this book speaks so much about America today as it does about America in 1979. And it's about the courage to make change in the ever-changing pursuit of justice. And I was just really blown away by the research in this book. And I'm going to throw that link in the chat for you to listen to their interview. It's not very long, about 30 minutes. So I'll put that in there and we can go to the next slide.
Okay, we have 2 titles left to go, but I just want to say you really should watch that interview. It is terrific. Can't say enough about it. So this book is How Does That Make You Feel? Magda Eklund by Anna Montague. Goes on sale October 22nd. This is our lead read. We pick one title a season that the sales division votes on, and this one is it. It's got wide readership. It's got that something extra, and everybody gets behind it. We also had her on Writers to Watch, and I think Grace is putting that link into the chat so you can check her out. So Magda Eklund is turning 70 and her life is one of total routine. She's a therapist in Manhattan. Her patients exasperate her at times, and she's never married, and she's mourning the recent loss of her best friend, Sarah. And while she's not a huge fan of Sarah's widower, Fred, who was taken up with a new girlfriend not long after Sarah's passing, and the girlfriend doesn't want to look at Sarah's ashes, so Magda takes the urn temporarily. Around the same time, she discovers, while reading Sarah's journal, notes planning a road trip that they were to take on Magda's 70th birthday. So Magda decides to take the trip anyway, straps the urn in the car, in the front seat, and off she goes. And it's a hell of a trip and lots of discoveries along the way. I'll leave it at that. It's a debut that deals with grief. It's funny. It's warm. It's offbeat. If you liked A Man Called Ove, or Remarkably Bright Creatures, who didn't, this is This is a book for you. It's just offbeat, and it's about women of a certain age deciding to really live again. And we love Anna Montague. She came to ALA and she was wonderful. The last book is The Blue Hour by Paula Hawkins, which goes on sale October 29th. It's, you know, her. She's the best-selling author of The Girl on the Train. This is set on an isolated Scottish island, Eris. It's got one house, one inhabitant, and one way out. It's unreachable from the Scottish mainland, 12 hours each day. It was once the home to Vanessa, a famous artist whose notoriously unfaithful husband disappeared 20 years ago. And now it's home to Grace, a solitary creature of the tides, content in her own isolation. But a shocking discovery is made in an art gallery far away in London, and a visitor comes calling, and the secrets of this island threaten to emerge. This is page turning. It recalls sophisticated suspense like Shirley Jackson and Patricia Highsmith. Lee Child says this is the best Paula Hawkins yet by a tense and haunting mile. Liz Moore, New York Times bestselling author of The God of the Woods, says an atmospheric, stylish puzzle box of a thriller, truly exceptional. We're so thrilled to have this author on our list, and we're excited about all these books. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us.
And next slide, super, super fast. I'm just going to throw the link in to the chat. We're doing this for 75 minutes on September 9th. So join us at 2 p.m. Library Journal's hosting. I just threw the link to register. And thank you. And we'll move on to Harlequin. Thank you, Pam and Randy, for your patience.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. It is great to be here. My name is Randy Chan. This is Pamela Osti, my colleague. We're the library marketing team at HTP Books, and HTP stands for Harlequin Trade Publishing. We're part of the HarperCollins family. And before we look at the best books upcoming, we thought we'd look at some recent history.
Yes. So I wanted to start off by thanking you for your support. We have, oh my gosh, we've had such an incredible year of Library Reads picks, including, I'll just call out a few titles here. Hush Harbor, which was a debut novel we featured at last year's ALA Annual. And it's just so great to see two of our Library Reads Hall of Famers on here. We have Lisa Unger and Mary Kubica. And so great to see our Library Reads bonus picks. I wanted to call out Why We Read. This is our first nonfiction title chosen as Library Reads bonus pick. It's by Shannon Reed. She's a longtime professor, and it's such a witty book. It examines all the reasons why we read, for comfort, for escapism, for love, and it hit the Indie National Bestsellers list earlier this year. And then more recently, we were so thrilled to learn that Magical Meet Cute and The Book Swap at the top were named Library Reads picks in August and September, respectively. Magical Meet Cute is by the author of The Matzo Ball, Jean Meltzer, and is utterly charming. It's a rom-com about a lonely potter who creates a golem to protect her small town. But when a very handsome stranger shows up at her door, she begins to wonder if she created more than she bargained for. And then The Book Swap is a gem of a novel. I'll be presenting it in a little bit, but I will say it's absolute catnip for book nerds. It's so lovely and charming and heartwarming. And then it's clear that thrillers and mysteries continue to be popular, and we have lots of thrillers to present to you today. So next up, some recently released titles.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to call out the rise in genre here. I think we've all seen that, whether it be Gothic or horror or romantasy, and that's great to see. I'm calling out this debut called The Emperor and the Endless Palace by Justinian Huang. It's so good. Some of you may have heard Justinian speak at ALA Annual. This is a sexy romantasy that takes place in 3 different centuries, and in each century, the story of doomed lovers repeat themselves. And it's based on a Chinese folklore about Emperor Ai and his male lover. I also wanted to call out my personal favorite on this slide, which is The Library Thief by Kuchenja Shenjie. Beyond the fact that it's a book about books with library in the title, this one does hold a special place in my heart. The author is a trans writer in England, and she wanted to write a Victorian novel with diverse characters, including queer characters. And the result is a Downton Abbey-like drama with a mystery at its heart about a bookbinder who is hired to restore old books at Rose Hall. It reminded me of Fingersmith by Sarah Waters, which is one of my favorite books of all time, and The Confessions of Franny Langton. Okay, so now on to upcoming books that have yet to be released.
All right, starting with Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. This book is as if Agatha Christie wrote about a gay magical mystery cruise that ends in murder. It's a romantasy. It was an instant bestseller in the UK where it was originally published. It was a huge TikTok sensation, and now we're releasing it for the first time in North America. It just went on sale. We have glowing endorsements from Thea Guaznan, who wrote the Hurricane Wars, from A.S. Webb, the author of Daughter of Chaos, and Sunyi Dean, the author of The Book Eaters. On TikTok, there are already over 1,000 videos, posts by readers dressed in cosplay and just expressing their love and passion and excitement for this book. And on Goodreads, there are over 70,000 wants to read. We're releasing a limited edition with sprayed edges. It's available only on the first printing. And the special first edition hardcover will include a gorgeous shimmering jacket with effects, beautifully illustrated end papers, and sprayed edges. So this is a big, big book for us this fall.
Our next book is by the author Mansi Shah, whose writing has been compared with Jhumpa Lahiri and Amy Tan. A Good Indian Girl is about Jayoti, who is the perfect Indian American daughter who stayed out of trouble her whole life and married a man her parents approve of. But now Jayoti is unemployed, childless, and divorced. So things could not be worse. So she books a ticket to Tuscany for the summer. And the rest, as the editor puts it, this is about carbs, Chianti, and La Bella Vita. Jayoti pursues her dream of becoming a head chef with both Indian and Italian fusion recipes. And we met the author Mansi Shah at ALA Annual. She's just such an impressive person. She left her career as an entertainment attorney in Hollywood in order to write full-time, and she wants to center Gujarati characters in all of the books that she writes. So this is a writer to watch.
And then next up, the book swap by Tessa Bickers. I mentioned this at the top. Everyone who reads this falls in love with it. It's a blend of the reading list and You've Got Mail, and it's about a woman named Erin who loses her favorite book when she accidentally donates it to her neighborhood's little free library. Inside the book, she had written in the margins, lots of notes, and the book means a lot to her. It belonged to her best friend who recently passed away. In the meantime, James has the book and he's captivated by the notes in the margins, and so begins an anonymous book exchange between the two. Each one leaves new books, all classics, with new annotations and messages inside, until the two develop a friendship and eventually fall in love. The author lives in the UK and she's in a music band called Tess and the Tellers. She's performed at Glastonbury. She's worked on a UK radio show where she interviewed celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio and the cast of Sex and the City. The book swap is a book lover's dream. There's lots of references to classics in the book, including To Kill a Mockingbird, Great Expectations, Mansfield Park, Beloved, and Middlemarch, among many, many others. It's absolutely charming and adorable.
And now on to Madeline Martin's brand new book. Librarians love Madeline. She wrote The Last Bookshop in London, which was a Library Reads pick. And then, of course, Madeline's written extensively about librarians in the past, including The Librarian Spy, which was about the true story of America's library spies during World War II. So she's back with The Book Lover's Library. It is about Emma, a widow who finds a job at Boots Book Lover's Library. And with World War II looming, and with her daughter being evacuated to the countryside, Emma finds solace in the friendships she forms with her library co-workers. And this is inspired by the real-life Boots Book Lovers Library in England. The library was known for employing women after World War II, and the female librarians loved working there so much that they would prolong their engagements and delay their weddings so they could continue working for as long as possible. So if you're ever looking for a keynote speaker at one of your events, please consider Madeline Martin. She's terrific and she wants to do everything she can for libraries. And on to the Banned Books Club. Just on the topic of banned books, we know that dealing with book banning and the bureaucracy around that and censorship and the threats to drag Story Hour, they're very central to your day-to-day. And Pam and I stand with you. In fact, we want to help as much as possible. Some of you may know this, but we did launch a grant with the ALA, with the new member roundtable earlier this year, and we funded a librarian to attend ALA Annual. And actually, we just signed off on funding another grant for the next 3 years with the ALA. And then earlier this year, we teamed with Michael Threets and the Drag Story Hour organization. We sent care packages to 35 libraries who regularly host Drag Story Hour, and we're going to keep doing things like that on our end to help. This novel by Brenda Novak is a lighter approach to the issue of book banning. It features a woman who fought her high school's banned book list, and as with all of Brenda's books, she tackles complicated friendships between family and friends. She's often compared with Elin Hildebrand, so if you like Elin's novels, you'll love Brenda Novak.
And up next, One Big Happy Family by Susan Mallory. Susan is, of course, a writer that needs no introduction. She's a longtime Harlequin writer. She's in the Library Reads Hall of Fame. And in fact, she's our first author to receive this honor. This is a holiday-themed novel. Susan writes great, fun, heartwarming holiday books. This is about a mother whose holiday plans turn from cozy to chaotic at the family cabin. She's about to introduce her children to the much younger man she's been secretly dating. But that's not all. The guest list to the cabin starts to grow, including her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. Over this complicated and very funny Christmas, this family is going to learn to let go of old hurts and open their eyes to love and their hearts to love. This is for fans of Mary Kay Andrews and Julie Murphy. And if you haven't picked up a Susan Mallory novel yet, I definitely recommend this one. It's really fun.
And I have the pleasure to present one of the most exciting debuts I've worked on in a long time. This book reminds me a lot of The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner, and that one went on to become a worldwide blockbuster. So The Stone Witch of Florence is an historical novel. It has a witchy twist to it, just like Wayward or Hester. Or like Saoirse or A Thousand Ships, it is set in ancient times, and it features a strong, unforgettable protagonist. It also has a magical feel to the read, like The Cloisters or anything by Erin Morgenstern. So, why all the hype? A young woman named Ginevra de Gaspero has a gift. She can use the practice of alchemy to heal the sick. She literally harnesses the power of gemstones to heal. But as a result of her powers, she's condemned as a witch. The setting is Florence, Italy in 1348, during the Black Plague, and so Ginevra is summoned from exile to help her city, and the city's leaders give her a mission: to use her collection of jewels to track down a ruthless thief who is ransacking Florence's churches for priceless relics, leaving behind mysterious vials of bright liquids. As Ginevra enters her mission, she realizes she's a pawn in a much larger and much more sinister scheme. The author, Anna Rasha, is an historian and gemologist. She previously worked in the jewelry collection at the Museum of Modern Art. She's the most fascinating author. She set aside her career to write this book and to promote this book. The ABA just announced this as an Indie Next pick, and with fingers crossed, it will make the Library Reads list as well. And really, all signs are pointing to this being a big breakout debut.
Next up, Mystery in the Title. This is by duo Ian and Will Ferguson, who are brothers. In Canada, they're household names. Will Ferguson has won the Giller Prize, which is Canada's equivalent to the National Book Award. He's also won the Stephen Leacock Medal of Humor. Together, they're writing an uproariously funny mystery series that began with I Only Read Murder. This new book, Mystery in the Title, is the second in the series, and it's best described as Schitt's Creek meets Only Murders in the Building. It's about Miranda Abbott, an aging actress, so think Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek, who is filming a TV movie of the week when her male lead turns up dead. He crashes into the atrium window of the Duchess Hotel. Enter the citizens of Happy Rock to help solve the murder, including a grumpy bookstore owner and Miranda's ex-husband. If you love fun, cozy mysteries, this series is absolutely perfect and super quirky.
Zita's Till We Die. This is the dynamic duo of Amber and Danielle Brown. They are identical twin sisters, and both of their previous books were Library Reads picks. Someone Had to Do It, which was their debut, and their second novel, Perfect Little Lives. So we hope the third time is a charm as well. Zita's Till We Die is about a sorority party gone wrong. It's about a group of best friends from college who come together at their 10th year reunion. But not everyone's life has been rosy since college. A former classmate was convicted of murdering her fellow sorority sister. And soon after everyone reunites, another murder takes place. So could this be the mark of a grudge-holding killer stalking this friend group?
Next up, When We Had Forever, this is such a powerful debut. It's by Shailin Gandhi. It's an emotional roller coaster for fans of Colleen Hoover and Lucy Score. After a car accident leaves Mina Drake, a widow at 36, she wanders the empty rooms of her home, mourning a love that should have lasted forever, but had started to fall apart even before her husband's death. She knows she shouldn't wallow in grief and guilt. She should, as her best friend puts it, go out and live again. Then a chance discovery in her husband's office sends Mina spiraling. As she unearths secrets he buried long ago, she begins to wonder if the man she spent 14 years with is truly who she believed him to be. In the midst of her unsettling discoveries, her enigmatic brother-in-law shows up on her doorstep. Tattooed, scarred, and falling apart, he's nothing like her husband. Yet Mina can't deny that there's something about him that makes her want to feel again. Shailin Gandhi's powerful debut is an intense story about heartbreak, loss, and ultimately finding your soulmate.
And my last title is for nonfiction lovers out there. It's fantastic. It's by the author Olivia Campbell, who hit the New York Times bestseller list with Women in White Coats, which was about pioneering doctors. And what Olivia does best is write books that have that hidden figures feel to it, unearthing important stories about strong women. The new book, Sisters in Science, is about 4 trailblazing women physicists who narrowly escape Nazi Germany. Their escape required Herculean efforts from friends, other prominent scientists, and relief organizations around the world. They made it to America and thus inspired a new generation of women in their field. This account reads like a tense thriller or a screenplay for a future award-winning movie. It's filled with drama and inspiring stories of courage.
And then finally, just a sneak peek at winter 2025. This is shaping up to be a big season for us with lots of blockbuster hits. So first, Pam Jenoff, the author of the New York Times bestsellers The Lost Girls of Paris and Codename Sapphire, is back with a historical novel called Last Twilight in Paris, which is inspired by a real department store in Paris that was converted to a Nazi prison camp. Then we have Lisa Unger, the queen of thrillers, who's back with Close Your Eyes and Count to 10. This is like Squid Game meets Survivor. It's about a high-stakes game of extreme hide and seek. And then we have a beloved author and librarian favorite, Alka Joshi, who wrote The Henna Artist, which was a Reese's Book Club pick. She's back with a new novel called 6 Days in Bombay, about a young nurse who embarks on a journey from her home in Bombay through Prague, Florence, Paris, and London to uncover a mystery and prove her innocence after a famous painter dies in her care. The cover we have on the slide is for The Perfumist of Paris. That was Alka's last novel. We'll be releasing the cover of 6 Days in Bombay very soon. And then finally, Adriana Herrera. She is the author of A Caribbean Heiress in Paris, which was a New York Public Library top 10 book of 2022, and An Island Princess Starts a Scandal, which was a Chicago Public Library must-read book of 2023. She's back with A Tropical Rebel Gets the Duke. This is another sexy, joy-filled historical romance told through a feminist lens about an ambitious doctor breaking societal norms and the reluctant duke who's willing to risk it all for her. We can't wait for these books to be out in the world. Look out for ARCs to be available very, very soon. And then on the final slide, this is our contact information. You can follow us on X at HQ for Libraries. You can visit us at our website, harlequinforlibraries.com. Feel free to reach out directly to Randy or me. Our emails are here. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, everyone.